Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Balance and Breakthrough. This show is where we explore what it really takes to grow personally, professionally, and spiritually without losing yourself along the way. And I know a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm your host, Will Singleton, and today's conversation is going to be something very interesting and fascinating and something I've been looking forward to for a while. My guest today is Steve Gamlin, keynote speaker, author, coach, and the creator of the vision board Mastery. Um, the title doesn't really tell the full story of what this is, and I'm going to be asking a lot of questions, probably for my own personal benefit. But I'm sure you guys will enjoy this. The journey that Steve's on includes, a radio, stand-up comedy, which I am also interested in, by the way, personal setbacks, career reinvention, and a powerful commitment to intentional living. And I love that. He's someone who doesn't just talk about mindset and visualization. He's lived it and rebuilt his life around it, and now helps other people do the same thing. So if you've ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, or like you're doing all the things but not the right things and still kind of in the rut and you can't get out, this is the episode for you. Okay? So listen up, sit down, get a cup of coffee, because here we go. We're going to talk about resilience, clarity, and the emotional connection with goals and the vision board. And here we go. This is Steve right here. Let's get it. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Hey there, Will. Thank you so much. Looking forward to our conversation.
All right, all right. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself? I'm going to be asking questions the whole time, but just kind of give us a little brief synopsis.
Yeah, my name is Steve Gamlin. I live in a little tiny town on a dead end street off another dead end street in
Okay.
southern New Hampshire.
Okay.
And my life, pretty much, my journey really started when I was about 11 years old. I wanted to be a radio DJ, a stand-up comedian, an author of my own books, and a teacher of people, but not in the classroom. And of course, when you're 11 years old, you don't see any of those as a real job, or at least your parents tell you those are not real jobs. But by the time I was 24, my life already crashed and burned a bit because I had graduated college barely. What what my
Me
dad
too.
used to love to refer as my son graduated summa cum this close. True.
Right, right.
At age 24, a friend of mine saw how down I was and asked why I never followed my dream of being on the radio. So in summer of 92, I did. Enjoyed a 10-year radio career, crashed and burned that whole life.
Hmm.
And then out of the ashes of that, became a speaker and a stand-up comedian in the same exact moment. And of course, I can go deeper on this later in our conversation. And learned visualization, the basics of it. And then
Hmm.
started to, because I don't buy other people's programs or really read other people's books on stuff like that. I just kind of created my own version of it. And when I started to create success with my life, including discovering the love of my life,
Hmm.
other people started to ask, hey, can you show us how to do that too? And that's what
Hmm.
led me to where I'm at now.
Okay, okay. So this is like a really legendary kind of story you're talking about because you knew what you wanted to do at, did you say 11?
11 years old. Yeah.
So did you also have a vision board at 11?
Oh, no, no, it was just a
Okay.
kid thing. I mean, my ADHD at age 11 is probably a fraction of what it is now. Where I
Okay.
had usually at the time probably a couple squirrels in my head. Now there's a thundering herd, and they each play their own harmonica saying, hey, listen to this.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, all the seeds were planted. And it's funny when you're aware of exactly what you want, you start to become more aware of opportunities and influences and signs that most people don't see because they're always these days staring at their phone or staring at their feet saying nothing good happens to me.
Mm.
So it
Hmm.
raises your awareness and your frequency like an antenna that says, hey, this might be something. And I've just had that my entire life. I'm just so open to signs
Wow. Okay.
that
Okay.
sometimes you're following a sign and you smack your face into a glass door, and
Mm.
other times it's the greatest opportunity of your life.
Okay. So where did the first signs lead you?
That was, well, radio, because when I was
Okay.
11, I think our parents bought us these little stereos. It was an all-in-one.
Hmm.
a record player, a dual cassette, and a radio.
Okay.
So even at age 11, 12, 13, I was making mixtapes. Now these are tapes for all the, all the kids. It's the way we used to listen to music.
Right, right, right.
I was the person anytime we had a party, I put all the music together. So I was very into music and knowledge about music and all of these things, making things sound good. I was making little comedy productions even back then with this
Hmm.
prehistoric
Hmm.
equipment and enjoying it so much. And I always dreamed, boy, someday if I could make money doing this, that would be great. Or if I could build myself a recording studio someday. And now at age 58, you are seeing me in my second professional grade recording
Huh.
studio that I have built.
Okay. Okay. So when people think of vision boards, they tend to think of arts and crafts and stuff, but how do you reframe that for people? How do you break down what your version of a vision board is and why it's so essential for recreating yourself?
What most people do, and you hit it right on the head, saying
Hmm.
arts and crafts projects, because I get people all the time, especially in the beginning of a new year, saying, "Hey, Steve, I made my vision board." And I go, "Okay." Now, if it's somebody who has not been through my process or anything, I
Hmm.
go, "Okay, send it to me." And then I send back a message. I said, "Yeah, pretty much what I expected." Now, this is not me, bashing you, but it's a Lamborghini, a yacht, a mansion, a private jet, a helicopter, a big honking gold watch, and a bank vault full of gold bars and piles of cash. I
Hmm.
said,
Hmm.
congratulations, you've created the vision board starter kit, AKA the letter to Santa Claus. So there's nothing wrong with any of those things.
Hmm.
But for me, the first thing I say to people is, look, a vision board is not what you want to get, it's who you want to become. So we start
Ooh.
there. I
Okay.
say,
Okay.
okay, you want to become the person who could enjoy the rewards of all these things. All right, if you haven't achieved them yet, what habits, what behaviors do you have to change about yourself? How much more strongly do you have to believe in yourself? How's your self-talk? Did you throw all these things on there and said, "Oh no, I'll never achieve that"?
Mm-hmm.
Let's start to get to the person behind the goals. And then I remind them too, these are just material things, nothing wrong with it. I
Hmm.
work with a very basic tool, personal development. It's pretty common. It's called the life wheel. And the one that I created has 8 spokes to it. And these
Hmm.
are 8 areas of life that are working together 24/7, whether or not you're paying attention. So, wouldn't it be a good idea if you
Hmm.
actually did? And that's your physical health, your emotional well being. Imagine that, setting a goal for the emotions you want to feel every day. That's huge. Your closest relationships, your core values, your morals, your integrity that guide every thought, every word, and every action. Your faith, if that's an important part of your life, which kind of does the same, but the authority comes from a different direction. Your connection to the world in real ways. And boy, didn't that take a beating just a few years ago?
I bet.
Connection. We lost it. We're all kind of stuck at home and
Hmm. Hmm.
loneliness, isolation, addiction, depression. That was a huge part of it. And then your career and your money. And people say, well, that's really overwhelming. Go, well, they're all happening. So,
Hmm.
maybe you should pay attention to each one. By the
Huh.
way, every single one affects the others. Like, say you just want to get in better physical shape. You exercise more, you sleep better, you wake up more focused
Hmm.
with better energy. You do that, you go to work, you can maximize your earning potential. You may even make extra money that way. So you can buy back a little freedom and spend time with your closest relationships, good quality time.
Hmm.
And your connection with people is better. And if you work within your core values and the rules of your faith, you feel better emotions because you're never looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
And your business grows and your money. So that's all 8 just because you decided to take better care of your physical health. That's where I
Wow.
start with people is getting them to
That's where you
understand the
start.
bigger picture. Getting them to, I scare the heck
Wow.
out of them when I do this. But then I show them my vision boards
Hmm.
and everything. I've got every vision board I've made since 2005. And it's not every year. Sometimes it was every other year if the
Okay.
goals took a little longer.
Hmm.
But they see the progression because my first boards were littered with material things.
Mm.
And 3 weeks later, I looked at it and went, ugh,
Mm.
and I
Mm.
started over. And I tell people what qualifies me to do this is I screwed my life up way more than you probably did. And I figured out how to make it better. And I took a lot of
Yeah.
notes.
Yeah.
That's
It,
all.
it really sounds like what you're doing is instead of people asking for the blessing, you're creating them to be the vehicle for the blessing. you know,
Yes.
and that's so key, because a lot of people want a miracle to happen, but I tell a lot of my clients, like, you are the miracle in the happening,
Yeah.
and to create that system, that motivation, how do you connect them emotionally from the material to the substantial?
You just set that up perfectly because
I
you
practice
did.
in
I
the
mean,
mirror.
yeah, right. Um, and I was just at actually a big event, this company that I've spoken for now 18 years in a row. And this was
Hmm.
our first year in the same room together in 6 years because I've been going by video the past few.
Hmm.
And I speak for about an hour, and then they get about 40 minutes to work on their boards. During that time, I walk around and I look at somebody's board and I see a picture and I go, what's the story behind that? And they start to tell me, and I see how excited they get about it. And I tell them, good, you know why you want that. And I encourage people to have an emotionally connected why. So if somebody were to say, why do you want that? You can just spit it right out and there's a
Hmm.
connection. You get excited. Your energy is so palpable that other people get excited.
Yeah.
And when I've been excited about people's goals with them, I'm then able to say, hey, here's a suggestion. It's never go do this. It's have you ever thought of this? Have you ever read this book or listened to this audiobook or heard this podcast or watched this video? Have you ever heard this person speak?
Hmm.
Have you ever, tried this? And all of a sudden you find out that you're expanding their potential. And they'll say, well, yeah, I thought about it, but I couldn't do that. Well, why couldn't you do that? What's one little step you could take today? Because that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Is the taking action. We conducted a survey a few years back, myself and my marketing person at the time, and we asked people if you've ever made a vision board and you feel as though you did not succeed with it,
Hmm.
what were the biggest reasons? And they could choose more than one.
Hmm.
60% of people said they failed to take action. 47% of people said, I have no idea what I really, really want. And
Wow.
about 32% of people said they were unable to overcome their fears or their bad habits. So there is a third to more than a half of people with just those three reasons why that have failed at this. They may have thrown together a board that would excite them,
Hmm.
but it scared them. They
Yeah.
didn't take any steps.
Hmm.
And they didn't dial it in for exactly what they wanted. They just said, well, that's kind of cool.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's it. So there's a lot of conversations that happen between myself and my coaching clients,
Huh.
and those are some of my favorite conversations in the world, and they're simple. I never tell people what to do. I just
Hmm.
ask them questions until they say, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting because I run into a lot of people that have I should say some have big dreams and some are afraid to dream.
Yeah.
Um and even I, will scare myself sometimes with some of the big dreams I have. How do you get people past the fear to almost move into the faith to actually create micro steps towards, the vision?
Yeah. I actually compare it to riding an old wooden roller coaster. And
Okay.
it's funny because that version of it actually happened from a photograph that I took 23 years ago at a very low point in my life when a friend made me go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting at an amusement park in southern New Hampshire. The same exact night that my first wife and I decided to get a divorce, I'm like, oh, yeah, I got to go see my friend Regina at the darn amusement park. I'm really not in the mood. So I went there, I met her, and I said, I'm going on the roller coaster because I need to scream.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
sat in the second row of the front car and I looked up the top of the hill and I thought, I'm at ground level here. I'm at step one all over again in my life. And I opened my flip phone again, kids. That's an old type of a cell
Hmm.
phone. And I took a picture of it and it sat in my phone for a couple of years. And then one day, somebody was asking me about how to achieve a big goal. And I said, well, it's like an old wooden roller coaster. Hang on, let me send you this picture.
Hmm.
And I said, where you are the day you set it is at parking lot level with everybody else.
Hmm.
Any one of your goals is the top of that first hill. Now, you can't start halfway up and you can't skip any steps. By the way, these old roller coasters, they don't hold a lot of people. So you got to
Hmm.
make sure only the best people are around you because you don't want to be listening to people complaining the whole way up the first hill. And
That's
then
gold
what's that
right there,
coaster
bro.
do? It goes click, 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 click. Every little tiny step you take gets you closer to it. It may not feel it at first,
Hmm.
but after a little while of taking action, look over your shoulder and realize you are elevated above the parking lot. You're even higher than the Winnebago campers in the parking lot.
Huh.
And the top of that hill is getting closer. Once you do all the work to get there,
Hmm.
you're qualified. Go over the top, celebrate the whole way down the other side because it's a ride you couldn't stop if you tried because the momentum is already built in because you did all the work to get there. And when you get to the end, if you truly enjoyed the ride, what's the first thing you want to do? Get on again.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
next time you do it, this is what's going to put people like you and me out of work. I say the next time you do it, you look around for somebody else who's staring up at the top of that first hill and looks scared to death, and you say, "Hey, is this your first time doing this? Tell you what, why don't you come sit next to me? I want to tell you a story on the way up."
Okay.
Every time we succeed, we get, it's not really going to put us out of business, but we have the opportunity to inspire and help somebody else.
Yeah.
And that, to me, just keeps the line for the roller coaster growing. So we will always
Hmm.
have people we can help.
I mean, duplication is the magic of what we do.
Yeah.
Um, because it just not only does it magnify the results of the whole miracle process, so to speak, but man, it makes the world a better place,
Yeah.
and because I think our society, especially after COVID, I think we've lost the art of not just dreaming, but going after our dreams. So
Yeah.
how do you keep people motivated through the micro steps?
I cheer them on like mad. And all of
Okay.
my clients get this same hashtag. And it was created by my dear friend Allison years ago because she heard me tell the story and she goes, "Ooh, click, baby, click." I went, "Hmm." So I just put hashtag click baby click.
Click, baby,
And
click.
every single time one of my clients has a little breakthrough or a little step, or they made a decision and took even the smallest action,
Hmm.
they are under explicit orders from me to tag me on social media or just send me a direct message and
Hmm.
say, "Hey, Steve Gamlin, hashtag click baby click." And I reach right back out to them. I go, "All right, tell me a story. What'd you do? What'd you do?" And if we can be on Zoom doing it, I
Uh-huh.
watch their faces while they're telling it. And I look at them and say, "Oh my gosh, do you have any idea how happy and excited you look and sound right now? Let me
Yeah.
go play you back the video and the audio from our last call.
Mm, mm.
Compare it to now. Look at you.
Okay.
Look
Okay.
at you." And I cheer movement
Mm,
and confidence because every click up that hill, every time they get that positive reinforcement, that's rewiring their brain. That is
hmm.
helping hopefully their self-talk.
Hmm.
Because I mean, God, I spent most of my life with abysmal self-talk
Yeah.
and lack of confidence, a lack
I think everybody
of
does.
self-worth, and just I made an Olympic sport out of self-deprecation because here's the lie of it all. I could get laughs doing it.
Oh,
So I didn't realize
wow.
I was swinging a wrecking ball at my kneecaps
Mm,
for not even years, decades.
mm,
You know when that stopped? June of 2010, when then a brand new friend who's become like a brother to me had me on stage at one of his events all 3 days of the event. And on the third day, I was tired, I was running out of material, and I was in a bad mood.
mm,
And I said something really self deprecating in the middle of it. And people laughed. So I kept going and
mm.
piling on myself. And he staged an intervention on me after the event. And him and the
Wow.
other five speakers beat the crap out of me verbally for what I had done. And they
Mm,
finally showed me the lesson about how I was destroying my own credibility
mm.
by trashing myself. And that was the day. I can't just say the switch flipped, but the tide turned
Yeah.
that day. The
Wow.
sad part is my brain still comes up with this hysterically self-deprecating stuff.
Hmm.
I just don't say it. Or I say, "Hey, 15 years ago, I would have said this." And I get a
Yeah.
good laugh with it. And then I say,
Right.
"But I don't talk to myself like that anymore."
Okay. Okay.
But that's stuff that I work on with my clients a lot without them even realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
is taking what I used to do to myself and helping them to not do that to themselves.
Was that part of your stand-up comedic career where you would?
Yeah, part of it.
Okay,
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, even in my Toastmasters days
Uh,
from 2004 to 2011,
mm-hmm.
my speeches back then were
Yeah.
even very self-deprecating. I mean, I there was one gentleman who pulled me aside after a meeting and said, "Steve, your last three speeches all had the word idiot in the title, and they were all autobiographical. You
Ooh.
should really give yourself a break."
Yeah. Yeah.
One of them I remember was called The Idiot and His Odyssey. And it was the story of me destroying my radio career, first marriage, and any shred of financial stability, all before the age of 35.
Mm, mm. So
So,
going along that line,
yeah.
you know, you blew up your career and your personal life. How did you rebuild it? I mean, was this where the vision board started, or did you already have the vision board, or was the vision board born out of the ashes of that?
No, the ashes, actually, I got a $3 education that changed my life forever. On a Friday afternoon in August of 2003, it was very hot and humid outside. And I was driving past this old mini golf place and it had a driving range. And I
Hmm.
thought, okay, I got $3 left in my pocket. I'm going to go whack the crap out of a bucket of golf balls and just get out my frustrations.
Right.
I mean, every ball I hit, there was something in my life that I was mad at.
Hmm.
Mostly me for the decisions I'd made that trashed my radio career and ended my first marriage. So I'm there at the farthest tee box on the property because I am a horrible golfer. I'm an equal opportunity slicer. I mean, I
Right,
go,
right.
you don't know where it's going to go. So I went to the farthest tee box up against the big fence so that I wouldn't dent anybody's car in the parking lot. Well,
Hmm.
also at that far end, there's this whole long procession of big steel towered power lines. And about 10 minutes after I started swinging, in comes the thunderstorm. So I am barefoot in the wet grass, holding a golf club under power lines, thunder, lightning, wind, and rain. And at one point, I just held the club up and swung it in a little slow circle and said, "Go ahead. I dare you. Take
Ooh.
your best shot. My life sucks." Luckily, God laughed, which every
Yeah,
time, even now, I still hear thunder and I go, "Oh, God's still laughing at me."
yeah, yeah.
He knows he let me get away with it that day. So I hit my full bucket and the buckets of two guys a couple tee boxes away who ran from the storm and never came back.
Hmm.
So after almost an hour, I can't even lift my arms. And I get out to my car and I open the door and the rain stopped and the first couple little cracks of light came through the black clouds and I just smiled. I started laughing. I thought that was funny.
Hmm.
The very next day, I was on a phone call with my brand new life coach. I just started working with, I was his first client.
Hmm. Hmm.
He had just gotten his online certificate as a certified life coach. We know how that goes.
Right, right.
And he said, "How was your week?" And I said, "Well, let me tell you what this dumbass did yesterday." And I told him the story in about 3 minutes of that whole episode. And when he finally stopped laughing, which if you are a coach, you should not do over the phone when your client's life stinks.
Mm.
He said, "I got two questions for you. Are you this open and honest about your life with everybody?" I said, "Yeah, it's usually self-deprecating, but sure."
Hmm.
And then he asked, "Have you ever thought of being a motivational speaker or a stand-up comedian? I think you'd be really good at them and you'd enjoy it." He did not know those were two of the three things I wanted to do when I was 11.
Wow.
We're talking again, be open to signs and
Yeah.
opportunities. And I said, I've wanted to do both since I was a kid. I have no idea how to pursue them or if I have the confidence to do it. And he said, "You're not going to believe this, but in the junk mail pile on my desk, there's a brochure from a local community college, and they have a class that starts in 2 weeks called Intro to Stand-Up Comedy. Will you go?"
Hmm.
I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Have you ever heard of Toastmasters?" I said, "Kinda." I said, they teach you how to speak and be confident." He said, "Yeah." And there's one of the most successful chapters in the state of New Hampshire is one town away from you. Will you go? I wound up doing comedy for 7 years, stayed in Toastmasters for 8. And within a year of starting both, I was doing stand up and getting paid very little
Hmm.
to speak.
Wow.
Here
Okay.
we are.
Okay. So you you just followed the signs and walked through the doors that were open to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Believed
Okay.
in myself just enough. Or in the case of somebody else did.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got into radio because my friend Danny, when I was 24, said, "Why didn't you ever get into radio?" In the summer of 92, I went to radio school down near Boston and get my first gig. And when I went to tell Danny the news, I got the I told you so speech,
Mm-hmm.
but then he passed away 3 weeks later at age 23 of cancer.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
when I started to become a speaker, I remembered, oh my gosh, I got into radio because somebody believed in me
Mm-hmm.
when I didn't. So when somebody asked me, why'd you become a speaker? I said, because I had a friend who believed in me when I didn't. And my number one mission as a speaker
Mm-hmm.
is to reach that person sitting way in the back who barely came in the door,
Mm-hmm.
who won't look at me, won't take a note, will not raise their hand, will not engage with me at all. But I've got to reach that person to help them to get up the next morning and think one more positive thought, say one more positive word, especially about themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and take one more positive action. Because in that moment, they understood that I believed that they could do whatever it is they want to do. And if I can just impart that little bit to get them to take that one step through the door, then
Mm.
we win.
So how did you learn how to redirect your thoughts from self-deprecating to self-love so you could actually be an example of the people you're motivating? Because like I'm reading that you're the motivational firewood guy, but you probably weren't always that guy.
Oh no, I was the self-deprecating but squeezed in a few positive things in between guy for a while. But it's funny because the motivational firewood brand, I mean, I've owned that trademark for 21 years now,
Hmm.
actually came in the very, very early days of speaking. I mean, I could get paid to speak and I did okay. I mean, I don't mean to make it sound like I was destroying myself on stage,
Right, right, right.
but those little pieces were there and they weren't helpful to me. I could have
Hmm.
grown a lot faster if I didn't. But there was a guy who said at a National Speakers of New England meeting the day that I
Hmm.
went to visit because someone again suggested it. So I went there and everybody else has these beautiful lanyards and I have the hi, my name is, here's your Sharpie, write your name. And he goes, Steve, it's great to have you here with us. What sets you apart as a speaker? What's unique about you? And I said, I don't know. I want to help people. I said, we
Hmm.
all want to help people. And God love him. His name was Don Saracen, and I appreciate him to this day. He would not let me go until I gave him a satisfactory answer. And after
Cool.
about 3 minutes, I just threw my hands up and I said, Don, look, if somebody's coming to hear me speak, it means because they got some pain and they got something in their life they want to do, but they don't know how to do it.
Hmm.
They got the spark, but they got no fuel. So if I tell them something, a story, a tip, a tactic, a lesson, or something that inspires them to go do something, it's like I handed them a piece of motivational firewood.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said, there you go, young man. He goes, that right there is unique and interesting. He goes, plus, your face just lit up when you said that. I'm like, well, let me get a pen because I've never said that before. And I wrote it down, and he's the one who suggested looking up how to trademark it. And I
Mm,
did. About 3 or 4 weeks later, I filed the papers to get the trademark, and I've owned it ever since.
the
And the
motivational
mission is still the
firewood.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the motivational firewood guy. And somebody came
Hmm.
up one day and said, hey, you're the motivational firewood guy. Thank you. You just made that $1,200 trademark investment worth it.
Very cool.
So I still
Very
get
cool.
that a lot. But I love it. And again, another angel
Hmm.
who asked me a question and bounced me off the wall a different way. And something really great came from it.
It's cool to hear you talk about all these instances, but you got to give yourself credit because you put yourself in those places to find those
Yeah.
angels. Because
Yeah.
in my experience, I run into a lot of people that tend to isolate and seclude themselves, and you can't. The miracle's not going to be mailed to you. It's not going to come to you like Amazon. You've got to put yourself in different environments in order to experience new things, and maybe not all of it's good, but
Yeah.
it won't be the same, as what you're doing at home, sitting on your couch.
Yeah.
So you stepping out, becoming the motivational firewood guy,
Yeah.
the courage it took for you to step out and follow what people were suggesting is still very unique, especially today, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so what, so in having a vision board,
Mhm.
what's the most common misconception for just visualization?
Do you remember the old Saturday morning infomercials where it was like amazing discoveries or amazing
Yeah, yeah,
breakthroughs?
yeah, I remember that.
The guy who had the chicken rotisserie, and he'd say, "So we put the chicken in, and then and everybody goes, set it and forget it." That's the biggest misconception about vision boards
Mm.
is people think, "Hey, I made a vision board," and it just like you just said, they sit on the couch and they wait for the knock on the door for their
Right, right.
amazing future to show up. And I said, "Look, it's you made a vision board. Great, awesome, good first step.
Hmm.
But this is the part of your life where your butt cheeks and your couch cushions need to file for divorce.
Right, right,
You
right.
can't just sit there and wait for it to show up." And one of my favorite memes that I created, I did this years ago as a joke for one client,
Hmm.
and they wound up sharing it. Now I use it with everybody. There's a skeleton sitting at a desk with its skull bone resting on its wrist bone. And I just added the words, waiting for my vision board to work.
Mm.
And that's the biggest misconception. They think it's set it and forget it. And they
Yeah.
just wait for all these things to show up. Oh my gosh, you got to be like the Kool-Aid man. You got to, oh
Mm.
yeah, your way through every wall of limitation you've ever had for yourself.
Yeah.
You may trip, you may fall, you may look silly now and then, but guess what?
You're
For
moving.
for somebody like me, people, this is why I laugh when people say, "Hey Steve, how do you make up those stories you share on stage?" And I stare at them like a puppy. I
Hmm.
tilt my head. And if I could make one ear flop down, I would, because I would totally look like a puppy. And I stare at them and I go, "Have you not been paying attention to my life over the past 25 years? Oh my gosh, do I ever need to make anything up? No, I do not. What qualifies me to speak on everything I did?" Because I get asked that sometimes.
Hmm.
Snotty. What qualifies you to talk about this or coach this
Hmm.
or do this? I've got a little old chalkboard here in my recording studio.
Hmm.
It's probably, a foot by 2 feet. And I wrote one day on it with the chalk because I was frustrated because somebody was being a jerk to me again. So I wrote, "This guy lived it." And I drew an arrow and I put it next to my head. I took a selfie and I sent it to the person.
Yeah.
What qualifies me to teach and do what I do on visualization and everything else? I tried and failed and tried and failed and tried
Yeah.
and failed and tried and had a little click of success. And I wrote notes about what I did. Then I went again and again and again and again.
Hmm.
And when I started to create success in my life, pulling it back from all that disaster of the early 2000s, people started to say, "Hey, there is something to this stuff you've been talking about. Can you
Yeah.
teach me how to do it?"
Yeah.
So I wound up creating my program
Mm.
from my old journals.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
I didn't use
funny.
AI to write my program. I wrote my program.
You did it yourself with your life.
Oh my,
Yeah.
there are 13 versions of my entire program in my recording studio computer, and they
Hmm.
all have one thing in common: the word final version in the file name. Every single time I go, "Now this is the one." And somebody would ask me a question, and I go, "Oh my gosh, that's very important." And I'd
Hmm.
look and go, "Wow, I didn't really address that." Or
Yeah.
give it enough time as its own module.
Hmm.
And that's how the final module got created. And it's been the final version ever since. Although I'm redoing and updating it as we
Hmm.
speak, but it's intact
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. I love listening and you saying you lived it because so many people, I think, unconsciously have become voyeurs of their life and they're not living their life. And then they
Yeah.
wonder why life isn't working or happening because you're not really participating. You're just you're an armchair quarterback in your own story. And
Yeah.
you need to actually be a player.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So for those listening who are stuck in the weeds, where they say they're busy, they're overwhelmed, they don't know where to start, what's the first action you encourage them to do?
assess where their life is right now in each of those categories I mentioned earlier. And it doesn't have to take long. You don't have to write a book on any of this stuff.
Right.
But if you think about it, go around those categories. Your physical health. How's your health? Are you
Hmm.
exercising? You're making good food choices? Are you, struggling with stuff like that? I mean, five
Hmm.
years ago, I weighed 35 pounds more than I do right now. And I made that decision. I said, look, I'm already the motivational firewood guy, the vision board guy. I don't like the way I look and feel. I'm not sleeping well because I
Right.
had I had to use a CPAP because
Hmm.
my neck was so puffed out I couldn't breathe. And it started there. Are you happy? Or are you feeling the emotions you want to feel on a regular basis? If not, okay,
Yeah.
what are you focused on all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Because some people get up in the morning and they go right to social media and they
Mm-hmm.
start fighting with people. And then they watch the news or listen to it. And then they listen to like really angrily charged talk radio all the way to work.
Yes, I know. I
Toxic
know.
soup, dude, get away from that stuff.
Yeah.
One of the first things I do every day is I watch a YouTube video that'll make me laugh or a song that just gets me rocking at 5:05 a.m. because that's when I wake up Monday through
Hmm.
Friday. My feet hit the floor on a count of five. Thank you, Mel Robbins.
Yeah.
The 5 second rule.
Yeah. Yeah. I know
And the
that.
high five habit, I high five myself first thing in the morning in the
Hmm.
mirror and I say, I love you because
Hmm.
you're a good dude with a big heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's these little incremental things, but so many people aren't doing them because they're not aware of how big the snowball is getting thundering down the mountain in their life of negativity. So I
Hmm.
encourage people to assess where their life is right now. Scale of 1 to 10 if you're a scientific or numeric person, or if you're a storyteller like myself, tell yourself a little story in the mirror about where your life is right now and if you would like it to be a little better.
Yeah. It's
But
it's
that's where we start. Point A.
wow. Yeah. It's really interesting to see how people have developed habits for dysfunction. Like when I have somebody who's struggling with anxiety, how they will subconsciously doom scroll every negative catastrophe out there. Then they wonder why their heart's, pounding all the time. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, what are you doing? And so
Yeah.
when we're developing habits to create hope and the steps towards our vision, what are some basic steps that you tell people to do? Like 1 to 3 or 4 steps,
Yeah.
just daily.
The first thing, leave as many plus signs trailing behind you throughout your day as possible.
Okay.
Be as kind as you can be in the simplest ways. Because I've had people say, well, Steve, I don't have time to be kind, or I don't have money.
Hmm.
Did I say money? Hey,
Yeah.
how about you hold the door open for somebody?
Mm.
Or if
Mm.
you arrive at the same time as somebody else for a parking spot, wave them in. Go get another one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. And I learned that from observing one of my grandfathers, who was a very, very simple man his entire life.
Yeah.
But his wiring encouraged him to just leave situations better than he found them. Another thing to do is start to be aware of what you're grateful for. And don't just say, like if I asked you today, hey, Will, what are you grateful for? And you said, oh, my house, my partner, and my job.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
saw you a month later, I go, Will, what are you grateful for? And you went, Steve, I told you my house, my partner, and my job. And you hear the energy drop because it's
Yeah.
just sheer repetition. Repetition. I go, okay, what's your favorite room in the house to sit in? Ooh, well, we got a back porch so we can see the sunset. So yeah, we like to sit out there. And then I'm watching your face as you're saying this. So you're grateful for the sunset you just got to see last night. Well, yeah. What's your favorite? What's the first thing you love to say every morning or every night to your partner?
Hmm.
And they're like, "Whoa, gee, we kind of have a habit of always saying this." And I see their energy. And what's your favorite part of your job? Or what I love to ask instead is, whose pain did you solve most recently that really nobody else could do, but you were able to do it? Think
Yeah.
of the moments. Don't broad brush. Think of the moments that you're grateful for every day. And I've been doing this now for over 15 years. And my
Okay.
habit is in journals, I handwrite pen to paper. I don't text myself,
Hmm.
handwrite, because when you handwrite, you're using both halves of your brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll write the date, I write the words great stuff, and then I go 1, 2, 3. And in less than a line each, I have to describe my 3 favorite moments from the previous day.
Mm.
That's how I start my new day,
Hmm.
pulling on the plus signs of yesterday. That's fuel in the tank.
Wow. Okay. So it's
Yeah. So those are
specific
my
grat.
big two.
Yeah. So it's specific gratitude,
Yeah.
not general gratitude. That's deep. That's good.
Specific.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
use that.
Yeah. I mean, if you're just going to use the categories, go get a potato, carve it out, get an ink stamp, and just stamp it every day and see how excited you get about that.
Yeah, right.
But some people, that's literally what they do is they say the same things every day.
Mhm.
And there's diminished return over time
Yeah.
because you're just doing it from rote memorization. And
Hmm.
I get challenged by people.
Hmm.
Well, Steve, come on. I know you've gone through some stuff. I mean, I've had literally four people very close to me pass away in a
Yeah.
6 year period. And Steve, the day your father died, what could you possibly have had to be grateful for? I said, I'll get you my journal and I'll show you.
Hmm.
Because he passed on October 3rd, 2018. And October 4th, I wrote down the date, great stuff, 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
Made it to hospice before dad passed,
Hmm.
was holding his hand when he passed. And it was, even in the moment, I was grateful that I was there
Yeah.
with him. And I
And
was
it's
also grateful
practice.
there was actual humor in that day because he
Hmm.
passed when his favorite TV show that he watched every day at lunch was The Price is Right. And right at the end, they have the showcase showdown. And somebody, the package was, a camper, a ski boat, and a trip to Croatia. And that's right when my dad started to actively pass. So my sister and I have this joke now. We go, oh my gosh, we never found out who went to Croatia. And it makes us laugh and think of our dad that we both got to be here for him at that moment. And had I not written that down,
Mm.
I would have lost it.
Wow.
That memory would have been gone. And it's still a cherished memory between my sister and myself that brings us joy and reminds us of how much we love and miss our dad.
So you find gratitude in the grief.
Oh yeah.
That's powerful, you know.
Yeah.
And
Even losing my wife 13 months
yeah,
ago,
I was just gonna
I have
bring that up.
gratitude for that. Yeah.
Hmm. Is
Yeah.
that how you're navigating? Because you just lost your wife not too long ago.
Yeah.
That how do you manage motivating through the loss of that tremendous, moment?
Yeah. Toughest thing that I've ever had to navigate. And I'm also very blessed, just like every other thing that's happened to me in my life. I've taken a lot of notes
Hmm.
in that time. We lived, our home is here in southern New Hampshire. We were in London, England when it happened, 24 hours after we arrived for a 6 day vacation.
Hmm.
The night before, the night we arrived, we had the most amazingly deep, wonderful of the many conversations we've had, just loving, caring, hand holding, vulnerable and authentic with each other and cheering each other on and picking each other up from some stuff that was going on with each of us individually with our work and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was the most incredible conversation. And 12 hours later, we went downstairs for breakfast, came back up at about 8 a.m. And she said, oh, honey, can you grab my laptop? I have some work to do. I said, well, if you're going to work, I'm going to go down to the gym. And I came back up and she was slumped over on the couch. Her laptop was in front of her and she was out.
Mm.
So I think I jumped over the coffee table, called the front desk. Somebody came racing up and she still had a pulse.
Hmm.
So while one employee was calling for the EMTs, myself and the person with medical training were trying to revive her. And she literally died right there in my arms on that hotel room floor. What I'm grateful for is that she still had a pulse when I found her. And I hope that while I was crying on her and saying, I must have said 1,000 times that day, you were not supposed to leave me. And I love you. I hope that she heard me. But I'm most grateful that she still had a pulse and she was not alone and hopefully not scared.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. So
But
how?
there have been so many angels that have shown up. 5 days. I mean, I was there 3,000 miles from home all
Hmm.
alone. And another thing I was grateful for, the day prior, the day we arrived, we were outside just taking a walk down the sidewalk in front of our hotel. And I looked across the street and I started to laugh. And she goes, what are you laughing at? I said, oh my gosh, that building over there looks like Nakatomi Plaza from the movie Die Hard.
Hmm.
And because, it's not Christmas until you see Hans Gruber fall off Nakatomi Plaza, the old Bruce
Right.
Willis movie.
I know.
And I reached for my phone and realized I didn't have it. I said, "Oh, baby, can I use your phone?" So I took a picture of the building. We got back upstairs. I said, "Oh, babe, what's the password for your phone?" So I can get
Hmm.
that picture. In 17 and a half years, I had never asked her for that password. The next morning, she passes away.
Wow.
Everything I needed was in her phone. And I asked for that password the day before.
Hmm.
Our hotel reservations, our flights home, the car picking us up at the airport, her boss, her dad,
Hmm.
everything was in her phone. And
Everything.
because I asked her the day before, she was already being my angel.
Mm.
I never would have been able to figure out any of that stuff. I found out that she had taken out a travel insurance policy for that trip, which I didn't even know about.
Hmm.
Because of that, the company directly covered the expenses of the embalming, the autopsy, and the flight to bring her body home directly so that I didn't have to take care of it or worry about it. She was already being my angel before she was gone. So I'm grateful for all. I'm grateful that we went out on the sidewalk and took a silly picture of that building.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And my sister flew over 5 days later. She flew 4,000 miles to be there with me just to support her big brother.
Mm. So how did you maneuver the grief and not have it overwhelm you? Because I work with a lot of people where they either
Yeah.
stuff it or it just runs away with them. How did you save space for sadness and still operate, in motivation with your vision?
And that's a good question. The honest answer is I don't know. I just did the work.
Okay.
I got up every day. I didn't post anything about it on Facebook for 3 days because I had a client event that I
Mm-hmm.
pre-recorded a video for. And this was my 17th year in a row with them. And had they found that out, they're such fans of our story, it would have destroyed their event. So I
Mm.
intentionally held off for 3 days. And then I posted, basically wrote the obituary and said, "This is a post I never hoped I would have to write."
Mm-hmm.
And I've just been consistently posting about us ever since. And it's been so healing for me
Yeah.
to share it. I mean, there are days now where I'm I'm drowning in grief, and I just post a picture of us,
Mm.
and I'll say, "This is where my heart is today." And for anybody else going through anything like this, you can get
Mm.
through. I'm going to get up tomorrow morning, and we're just going to keep going and doing the work
Mm-hmm.
we have to do and keep showing up. We're going to honor the people that we love, who
Yeah.
loved us, by showing that we can go on. And the biggest thing for me is, as low as things got during that 6 years with, prior to Tina, 3 deaths, the
Right.
pandemic wiped out both of my businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was inhaling toxic black mold through a vent in my office ceiling from our attic for 2 years.
Wow.
It affected me physically, mentally, big time. I had brain fog so bad.
Mm.
I kept attributing it to depression over losing my dad, my business mentor, and our little dog. But it was black mold for
Mm.
2 years. But Tina, the whole time, "Baby, it's going to be okay. Your business is going to be fine again. She always said, "You're going to be famous again," which famous to her was just to get
Mm-hmm.
paid to speak. She believed in me on the days that I wanted to chuck it all and just go get
Yeah.
a real job somewhere, which would have absolutely destroyed my heart
Yeah.
and my morale.
Mm.
Even the night before she died, she was cheering me on and picking me up.
Wow.
And so for me to not do it,
Would be a
I
dishonor.
can't not. It's dishonoring her.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's betraying the belief she had in me and settling.
Mm.
And the reason why I do what I do every day, I say there's somebody out there in the world right now who's sitting in the back row of life,
Yeah.
in the shadows, not believing in themselves. I said, I've got to say or do something today that reaches that person.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time I do that, it picks me up.
Yeah.
Click, click, click. So I just show up every day and do the work.
Yeah.
Even though for at least the first 3, 4, 5 months, I was just numb,
Hmm.
but I had to make all the calls. One thing I recommend to people, if you're in a long-term relationship, Tina and I never officially got married.
Mm.
We wore the rings. We did everything. We
Hmm.
presented ourselves to the world as though we were married. We just kept saying, yeah, yeah, we'll get to it.
Hmm.
We also had not written wills,
Hmm.
which has created a number of issues. And we also never shared with each other what all of our passwords were for all of our accounts. So my full-time job for over 3 months was tracking down accounts.
Wow.
So I couldn't just roll over under the covers. I
Hmm.
had to get up every single day, and my entire day was tracking stuff down and making phone calls and just paying our mortgage.
Yeah.
I got
Hmm.
locked out of Tina's accounts and I bounced the first mortgage payment.
Mm.
And so I had to dig deep and figure out where everything was so that I could correct it.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just every day I get up and I said, I love you, babe. Please help me today.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
still say that.
Wow. So, mm, when going through the process of grief, there's a lot of people that mean well.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going.
Yeah.
Where do they get it wrong in supporting someone who is going through a depth of sadness? How can they effectively help
Um,
them?
some people say the worst thing somebody said to me was within a week after Tina died. And they said, well, how old are you two? I said, 56. And this person's response was, well, you're still young. There's time for you to fall in love again.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That was insensitive. I didn't yell at the person.
You're better than me.
I was just too numb.
Mm, mm,
But if I'm able to recall that, that means it was a pretty
yeah,
wrong thing to say.
yeah.
And then other people say things like, well, I get it because, I lost my uncle once.
Mm,
And
right.
I mean, I've been guilty over the years of if somebody lost a spouse, not having lost a spouse. It's like somebody who loses a child. I can't relate to that. I can only relate to what I've felt.
Hmm.
But then you get people that say things like, well, just focus on the good stuff. Like if you knew what I'm dealing with right now, I am, and I'm going to go old school here. I am Wile E. Coyote with a whole bunch of cartoon anvils hanging over my head,
Yeah.
trying to put my life back together.
Hmm.
So you don't just like, oh my gosh, I could just flip a switch and turn off the depression
Yeah. Right.
and the fear
Hmm.
of anything that could possibly happen to me and ultimately destroy everything that Tina and I worked so hard to create and have and enjoy.
Hmm.
No. The best thing I think you could do to somebody is just say, I hope today goes well. I hope you find something in this day that brings you some peace.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and just don't just say, hey, if you need anything, reach out because
Hmm.
people who are in the grief thing, we don't we don't get really proactive about stuff like that. We
Okay.
tend to sit with the echoes. So I would have friends that would send me funny videos or memes, and they would say, right, they'd send it and go, I hope it was okay that I sent this. And I would answer back, bro, you just made my day.
Cool.
So I've got friends in little certain text
Hmm.
circles or DM groups
Yeah.
who to this day still send me funny stuff on a regular basis. And I love them for it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just love them for it.
That's very cool. So, my last question,
Yeah.
has your vision board changed since Tina's passing?
I just, and I had a big event
Hmm.
very recently for this client, which is now my 18th year with this group.
Hmm.
And I told them, you all are the first people to see my new vision board. And I had it up on the screen as a slide. And something I encourage everybody to do when you make a vision board, whatever is the most important part of your life, I believe deserves to go in the center, and everything else works out from around it.
Yeah.
I have a collage of pictures in the center of my vision board that are either just Tina or me and Tina. So that everything I do now to honor her memory and her belief in me, all of these goals come from that source, which is still the center of my entire life. And one
Wow.
of the pictures is something that is the picture I actually used in her obituary. We went to Hoover Dam
Hmm.
a little over a decade ago, and she had this awesome picture of her with her black sunglasses on and just beautiful,
Hmm.
her beautiful smile and everything. And I put that and I drew a purple ring around it and I wrote the words hashtag honor my Tina, because I always called her my Tina.
Hmm.
And one of the things that we created, my family and I have a small nonprofit. It's called Tina's Buckets of Love. And we work with about 6 homeless shelters and programs here in Southern New Hampshire. And there's one single parents getting back on their feet. And when they move out of the shelter to their own apartment, we buy them at least $200 worth of kitchen utensils, cleaning supplies, personal care items, pots and pans, and all this stuff that they would need because they have nothing. And that's named after Tina.
Cool.
And it was an idea that I had while I was still stuck in England of how
Mm.
to honor her. So that is right there in the center. And everything else works out from that. So that's the source of everything every day is the love I continue to have for Tina. She's going to be part of my life forever.
Absolutely.
And what I've also discovered is now, as I'm going through this grief journey, I take a lot of notes. I have a whole journal of just me writing to her as though I'm speaking to her.
Hmm.
So now, as a speaker, this opens up a whole new stage for me to help other people that are going through grief. You can have your grief experts and counselors and coaches,
Right.
but I'm the storyteller in the middle that can hit them emotionally and help them to understand how to celebrate their people.
Yeah.
It's not just a loss. Look at the gifts that you have in your life from having been with them. So
Mm.
that's why she will always be the center of my vision boards. She was actually the center of my vision board before we even fell in love because it was the relationship I wanted to create
Yeah.
that I spent 3 years making myself the best version of me.
Hmm.
And when she showed up on June 16th, 2007, in an email from 1,350 miles away, 21 years after the last time we'd communicated, it happened.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that with us.
my
Um,
pleasure.
Man, not just the vision board, but what drives your vision
Yeah,
to help people be the best version of themselves.
yeah.
That's really powerful. So I
That's everything right
appreciate
there.
I appreciate this conversation so much.
Me
Your
too.
honesty, your energy, just the clarity. We need more of that today. I mean, that's what this whole show is about. It's about real people with real stories who are real heroes,
Yeah,
like Tina,
yeah.
you know.
She is. She's every every day. I mean,
Hmm.
I've got 2 shelves upstairs just dedicated to her, and I've got a little keepsake urn with ashes. Gave the
Hmm.
majority to her mom for personal reasons,
Hmm.
but I just hold that to my heart every day, and I talk to her. And early in the year, late December through most of January, when the sun comes through our living room windows, it lights up those 2 shelves.
Yeah.
And the first time I saw it, I opened the blinds and I turned around and saw it and I burst into tears
Mm.
because it's lit up. She's still here in our house. She shows me
Yeah.
all the time. So I take so much joy and inspiration in her still being here.
It's a
And
ripple effect.
yeah,
Yeah.
every day there's something.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Whew. Well, if this episode resonated with you, see, I've lost my words. You've got me choked up. Man, if this connects with you and your internal vision of who you want to be and where you want to go with your life, you know, take time to write it down and reflect on it and take one small micro step this week towards your dream. And you can always learn more about Steve's work, including the Vision Board Mastery and his coaching programs, by checking out the links that are in the show notes today. Okay. Because this is the guy. This is the guy, and he's working it and he's living it right now. And I appreciate you being on the show tonight so
Oh,
much.
absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me. This was, and I'm going to give you the one word, and I mean this in the best way possible. This conversation was effortless.
Thank you.
That is my highest praise. It was effortless and it was wonderful. So thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that.
This was great.
So, as always, if this episode added value to your life, please share and subscribe and rate this for the show. And it just helps us reach more people, because that's what this is about. This is about changing lives and changing dreams and bringing back the motivation to our soul, because we are all meant to be a miracle. All right. So thank you guys. And as always, I am Will Singleton, and this is Balance and Breakthroughs. And until next time, stay grounded, stay intentional, and keep moving forward towards your breakthrough. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.